welcome to the Happy Teacher Pod and to episode 7 with myself and Jenny.
Hello everyone. So this episode is all about wellbeing in schools, and so we've called it "How Does Effective Wellbeing in Schools Lead to Happy Teachers?" It's all part of the month of kind of mental health and everything like that, and to do with February. And Roxy is going to start with a Break-time Banter that I have no idea about.
Yeah, so I was online earlier and I was reading about other people's stories, and then it really reminded me of a story of my own. So you know when you play YouTube clips in class or like any type of clip in class, and the adverts come on like in the middle of the clip. I'm not talking about the the bit beforehand. You can kind of like play on or whatever else. Anyway, so like we're in the middle of a clip probably about Jesus. And then, standard in my lessons. So in the middle of a clip about like Jesus or something. Anyway, and then a Channel 4 like what's it called? Channel 4 advert came up. And it was 2 seals, and I still remember the advert to this day. I have no idea what it was about, but it was 2 seals, and one seal was slapping the other seal's arse.
Did you just say arse on our podcast? You did.
I did. I'm allowed to say it because it's in the context of that advert that was being shown. And then I literally was like, oh my God, guys. And then like, they were making all these like sounds, you know, like seal sounds, obviously, and like the slapping sound. I was like, oh my God, like obviously some like sexual innuendo of this advert. I'm thinking, this is a clip about Jesus. Why on earth are they showing seals like slapping each other? Like, what is going on here? The laughter in the class that I got, I mean, I just had to laugh along with them in the end. I was just,
what else?
You know what can I do? Like, I cannot choose the adverts that come on in the middle of these clips.
What do you know what it was advertising?
I don't know, it was probably some like biscuits or something like that. It wasn't anything like untoward, like, but it was just like, I'm gonna have to find the advert. Maybe I have to play like a little section of it over if you watch our YouTube so you can see the advert, because I still remember it now. And I was just thinking, and then I just had that dread every time I played a clip, like in the lessons afterwards. I was like, no, not the seal advert again, please. Like I can't be dealing with the innuendos. And I think it was like a year 10 or year 11 class. So they were obviously they got it, and they thought it was hilarious. But at least I got the laughs from the kids. But yeah, I'm sure other people have had those awkward moments in lesson.
Yeah, no, you get them a lot, don't you? And why? Oh, it's so annoying, isn't it, when it's an advert right in the middle? Because as you say, if it's one at the beginning, you can obviously have it playing in the background, have it silenced, have the video clip just ready to go.
Yeah, this one literally, we're in the middle of watching the clip and it like popped up on the screen. So there was no way of me like stopping it or skipping the advert. It was already done by the time I was able to get to the computer and like try and turn it off. So yeah, anyway, teacher error right there.
Oh, fun though. A fun little kind of little gap.
Yeah. I guess so. Today we really wanted to talk about well-being in schools, because this month we've been talking about mental health, and I think like a big part of that is that I feel like recently, maybe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, but I feel like there's been more of a concentration on teacher well-being in the last few years. Maybe post-COVID, potentially. Maybe it's because, yeah, we spent like so much time at home and it was like hard on everybody's mental health. I don't know, but I feel like schools are trying, or the schools that, well, we're going to talk about today like a bit of both, but I've been at schools where they're really gunning for the teacher well-being. And so something that we thought, you know, it would be good to kind of talk about, to see what our experiences are, but also like to ask what other people's experiences are as well afterwards. You know, like, has anyone had any really fun well-being experiences? Because I think for me today, I kind of wanted to start off with like my ideal well-being as a teacher is something really fun that doesn't isn't necessarily anything to do with teaching at all, like just something really fun that I kind of like would enjoy doing with my mates or whatever else. So one time my one of my previous schools, they ran like almost like a pub quiz style thing. And I know you're going to talk about this later, Jenny, about this idea of doing well-being in the evenings or like in your like twilight sessions or whatever else. And this was in the twilight session, so it did give it a little bit of a taint, the fact that, you know, we were kind of almost forced to do it in an after school hour.
So I was just going to check with that. When you say it was in a twilight, so was it as a scheduled inset in the evening? So for like non-teachers out there, so it wasn't, here's an evening activity, do you want to come along? It was part of your teacher training, but they were doing that as a wellbeing activity.
Yeah, that's right. So not teacher training. I think like some of the twilights were dedicated. It was like one twilight a term was dedicated to teacher well-being, which is great in premise. Like I love the idea of like dedicating some of that time, that because I guess with twilights you have to do those hours, right? You have to do twilight hours anyway, to make up time.
I just don't think I've worked at a school with twilight sessions before, so I don't think even I fully know. So is twilight all part of insets? Like there's an allocated number of hours?
We don't have insets. At my current school, we don't have insets at all, pretty much. Only right at the very beginning of the year do we have an inset. Other than that, we don't have any insets. We have twilights instead.
Okay.
Because then we get some extra days at the end of the year, which is because we've done twilight. But like my husband's school, he has to do twilight every week for half an hour, or I think it's half an hour or an hour, I can't remember. And this is to make up for time where his school gives him off for Eid, and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it's to do with the fact, isn't it, that in a state school there's a core number of hours that the students have to be in over the year, isn't there? And then a core number of hours the teachers have to be in.
That's right, yeah. So
what of those core hours your school, this particular school, was dedicating to well-being in the twilight time?
Yes, so this was in a previous school. They done like I think it was a twilight term was dedicated to well-being, staff well-being. And in one of those they ran a little like almost like a pub quizzy type thing, which was fun. But like I said, obviously I would have preferred that it was like not in school hours or whatever else. But you know, not in school hours. No,
that it was in school hours, or that
it was in school. Like if they were doing well-being, like it was, you know, a thing of it was maybe on a lunchtime or something, I don't know, like, or even they could have included it on an inset day or something like that, like a day where you actually had time dedicated to well-being. Yeah, I don't know. It was just the thought that was going through my mind. What would I actually like to do?
So it's interesting because when I was thinking about it, when you were saying yours is something fun, I was thinking mine doesn't sound fun at all. What I'm about to say. But for me, I was thinking about well-being in the kind of broader sense of what does that mean in terms of being well. And that you have, you know, you might in a school have a well-being coordinator, or, you know, you get told this is a well-being twilight. And actually for me, well-being is more to do with a much broader thing than that. It's more to do, I was thinking about this, about anyone that's a school leader, and anytime they make a decision, do they have the well-being of all staff at the forefront of their mind when they're making that decision? And I was mainly thinking about anything to do with the school calendar and kind of planning things in advance. And so I think schools that do well-being very well are schools that on day one of the September term give you your calendar for the year, you know, everything. So, you know, from a parental point of view, I can manage all the childcare arrangements. I know exactly when all the parents' evenings are. I know exactly when all the data drops are. And actually, when I think it's a school's being bad for my well-being, it's when things are just kind of, you know, sprung on me without telling me about it in advance. Yeah. So for me, that's what I care about. I think kind of making me do a well-being activity outside of school hours would drive me mad. I can go to an actual pub and do a pub quiz.
And do a quiz. Yeah, that's very true.
And what makes my well-being high is that I am empowered to be able to plan ahead however I want to plan ahead, because I know all the deadlines, whether that's the deadlines within my department for coursework or something, and also deadlines from a senior leadership level. And I think anytime something's sprung on me, or even if I know the whole calendar, but there's these, very small pinch points, if you've got all these exams and then you've only got a few days to mark it, I think that's bad for my well-being. So therefore, leaders and senior leaders that always think about, okay, when I make this decision or give this calendar, it's enough time for that part-time member of staff, it's enough for that full-time maths teacher who's got that many classes, then I think that's true well-being.
Isn't that interesting? Because it's important to get lots of different teachers' perspectives on well-being, I think, when you're kind of planning that in, because we spoke about this before, like this tokenistic kind of well-being, whereas you're talking about like a long-term well-being rather than like this short-term tokenistic, like free lunch or whatever you want to call it, like kind of idea. Instead, you're talking about kind of looking at the holistic well-being of a teacher, which I like a lot. And actually, I think sometimes schools try to kind of shove in the well-being, and like they're like, oh, we've put in a free breakfast because that's like shoving in the well-being, or like whatever. And then actually you've not thought, like what you just said about pinch points, for example, or a time of year where you're feeling extremely stressed out, like maybe the mock period when you're marking lots and whatever else. And I'm sure I've said this to you before. For me, the best thing well-being wise is time. Is like, can you give me some time back? So again, I know I've mentioned this before about duvet days, or like some kind of time where I can dictate what I'm doing with my time, not somebody else dictating what I'm doing with my time. But it's hard, because do you feel like then it's just really difficult to actually, you're never going to please everybody?
You're never going to please everybody, are you? But it's a bit kind of like what you said just there about kind of thinking about different teachers and speaking to different teachers. And I think we said this in another podcast as well, about kind of surveying and doing an effective survey to find out what well-being means. And so, you might get this significant percentage that do want a pub quiz night organised, and so you can make that happen. But other people might say, actually, what I want is this half day protected to get on with this marking or whatever it is that I need to get on with. And I think what we're saying here, it all sounds a bit more complicated, doesn't it? But that's the whole point, because a staff body is complicated. Different people have different needs and desires at various stages of their career. So in my early 20s, I would think well-being would be, oh, they've organised a night out for us. They've organised, I don't know yet, wine after work on a Friday or something. I remember one school did do that. The assistant head brought out, she had a very good wine collection, and she'd bring out one of her favourite bottles that's quite expensive each week, and we'd sit and discuss her wine.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh, this is a little bit off topic, but do you remember like when were you at our school when we got the outstanding and we got treated to going to one of the governor's houses? Yes, you were. And that was great well-being. We got that
was amazing. That was a governor's house who lived in a very wealthy part of London, and the house was worth quite a few £1 million.
Yeah. Oh, and he had a library. I remember we went to his library, and like everyone was like drinking like cognac in the library. I was like, wow, this is so.
And his toilet was bigger than my upstairs.
I remember I had to ask someone where the toilet was, and it was like down in the basement, and the basement was massive, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be able to find this toilet. But like those types of things are always appreciated, like when I feel like they've genuinely taken the time and consideration to kind of really think about what would make everybody really happy. That really actually goes a long way with me if I know that they've actually thought about it. Like for us, that was such a treat. Like we you know, as teachers, we don't get treats like that because we don't work in a privatized industry where you've got like millions of pounds to be like spending on these types of
and I don't know about you, but I don't know any millionaires, so I can't just, you know, nip round to my friend's house.
No, I don't know any millionaires. Also, I feel like, yeah, it was almost like we were rewarded, but it was like so nice for our well-being. Like we just kind of got to go and like do this thing that was so unusual. And it was really, really nice. And we've obviously spoken about before at that school, we had the day where we were allowed to kind of like do something that we were really passionate about. And that's another thing that I always really appreciated, that they, again, that was to do with the thought, the care, and the consideration that went into how we were going to spend our time. So I have been at a school where they have done a family week, I think they called it, or wellbeing week, I can't remember, where it was like the whole week was supposed to be like no after school meetings, no clubs after school. Like, so basically the whole idea was that after school you could go home, basically. Like you'd come in, teach, whatever, and then you were able to go home. Like you didn't really have to stay after school for, I think it was like they literally cancelled everything, detentions, whatever. Like I think SLT used to run those. I didn't even have to run them. But then at the same time, so that was all well and good. So if you actually think about it, I'm like, okay, that's nice. Like I get to go home every day. Like I get to see my kids, earlier on in the day and blah, blah, blah. But actually, like one of the weeks ended up being a massive pinch point in the year. And I think it was something to do with examinations. I can't remember what time of year it was. And it ended up being not a wellbeing week because they hadn't actually thought about where they were putting it in the calendar, which lends itself to your point from before.
I was about to say, I think so much of what we're saying lends itself to being a super organized senior leader, like really looking ahead and thinking, when do we do this that is actually a beneficial time of year? And then also, when we talk about that event about after we got the Ofsted outstanding, when we are going to do this event, how are we going to make it different from people's ordinary lives so they're not foregoing a night out they could have with their friends? It's actually something different. So it's really considered in terms of the planning of when it's going to happen, but also in terms of what it is as well.
And I think, because we used to do like and this is because we were a growing school at the time, I think we used to do a day towards kind of the end of the academic year where it was staff, what was it called, like a staff, not staff party, like it was a staff, remember it was an inset day, but we would go and they would also pay for our hotel stay, like dinner.
The staff away day that we had at our joint school, is that the one you mean?
Like a staff away day. So although it was lots of CPD and lots of kind of teacher training, it was also to build connections, wasn't it, between people and kind of like make people, I can't think of what I'm thinking of, I can't think of the word, make people have like better teamworking skills and stuff like that. Now, even those kinds of things, I feel like when you're made to feel a little bit like special, like, like you've got like something different, like compared to other schools, that's always nice as well. But yeah, I literally, I feel like with wellbeing in schools, I will take what is given, because I do feel like a lot of the time, and I don't know, you might have had a completely different experience at a private school. You can obviously talk about that in a second, but I feel like a lot of the time it's like we're almost like scrambling for those well-being, kind of moments or whatever else. And it's like, if they're going to give it, I'm taking it, even if it is a free breakfast or an after school inset that's cancelled or whatever else, just to give some kind of well-being. My school had Ofsted last week, and we were supposed to have a twilight tomorrow, and they cancelled the twilight, and they said, it's been a really, it's been like a lot last week. We're going to give you that off this week. So just, the head said this morning, just go home. Like, we don't want you to stay at school. So that was nice.
On that though, does that then have to get made up at another time?
I don't think they will do that this time, because this was like a ad hoc, like, like this is because we had Ofsted last week. So
Okay.
we like to kind of give you back some time, because, a lot of people stayed late at work last
Yeah.
week and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so I think I really appreciate that, actually, because I was like, oh yeah, actually, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think to myself, oh yeah, we've got Twilight tomorrow. We have to stay till 5 o'clock or whatever time it is, whatever time it finishes. But yeah, what's your experience? I'm interested to know, actually, what do they do at private school that you feel like is like a well-being perk, Jenny? Because I feel like there's some well-being perks in there. I'm gonna be
So
very
besides the wine and cheese evening that I've just mentioned. Do you know what? When you're saying that, it's making me think that joint school that we worked at, which was a state school, I think that was probably some of my best well-being. And I think that's partly helped by the fact that we've obviously alluded to that one of the governors had some money available.
I think that definitely makes a difference, doesn't it? Like if they're with one of the governors or whoever is inputting money into these kind of events, because a normal school is not just going to have this money just like lying around or whatever else.
Yeah. But the interesting point is, you might think someone listening that's only ever worked in state schools, or just, someone that just doesn't really know what goes on in private schools, you might think we'd have really good well-being because, there's more money. But I guess it's this idea that the parents are putting that money to pay for their children's education, and they know that a big chunk of it goes on teachers' wages. But I think you'd have to be quite careful how you manage well-being, so it doesn't look to the parents like we're spending your fees on giving the staff a great night out. One thing that a school did that I really liked, they did something where we all got a prize at Christmas time. Instead of just everyone getting an identikit, same bottle of wine or whatever it was, they did it as a kind of tombola. So you picked a raffle ticket.
Okay.
And you went into the head office, and then you found, the corresponding raffle ticket. And they bought really nice things. They were all of quite a decent value. But, there was wine, there was chocolates, there was various different things. And I got the impression, like, I was very happy with mine. I think I got a good one. But I got the impression, if you were like, oh, actually, I don't drink, they'd obviously give you a different one. But it was just nice that it wasn't one size fits all. It was like there was lots of different things available. And it was also just a bit of a fun activity that you were, doing tombola.
In my husband's school, they done what did they call it? I don't think they called it Secret Santa, because he works at a school with a lot of Muslim students. So I think they called it something else, but it was like a Secret Santa at Christmas time, just between the staff, and that was a well-being thing. It was actually by their well-being coordinator, who is a friend of mine, and then my husband actually got a woman he'd literally never met before, because he's at a 2-site school, so he'd never met her. He didn't know who she was, and he was like, I don't know what to get her, because I really genuinely do not know her at all. He goes, I don't want to get her alcohol because she might be Muslim. I don't know. I don't want to get her chocolate because she might have diabetes. And he was like, right, I'm going to plump for a candle. Everybody likes candles. And I was like, yeah, it actually stressed him out more just because he didn't know this person. And it was, I think the way my friend had done it was everybody got somebody. So it wasn't a choice thing of if you want to be in it. It was like a thing of, oh, everyone should be involved. Which, again, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that.
So one thing one of the schools I've worked at does is a similar thing to that, but it's actually called, I can't actually remember the name of it now, but the idea is it's not one gift for Christmas. It's in that whole first term, which is quite often, the most difficult term, getting into winter and everything. And you're someone's kind of secret angel for that whole term.
That's nice.
And the idea is they did it the first year, as a trial, and it was great. But in the second year, they kind of learned from any kind of little errors and things. And what they did was they said, roughly, we're not telling you what to do or how much to spend, but roughly think over the course of a term, you might give around 3 to 5 little gifts for your particular person. And they really specified that you shouldn't be spending more than £10, but actually your gifts could be something that don't cost any money at all. Like it might be that you baked some cookies at home and you put some spare cookies in their pigeonhole, or it might be that you found a really beautiful inspirational quote and you put it in their pigeonhole. Or really you've noticed they've done, you know, a really good job and you just write a message about what an amazing teacher you think they are. And I've partly looked out because I've had some very good angels that gave me a lot of presents. But I did like that. It was good because it wasn't just kind of, you know, on the very last day get a gift, or just after Ofsted get a gift. It was like, you know, I might go to my pigeonhole on a random Wednesday and there was some nice lip balm and a candle.
I was just about to say, was it food related, Jenny? Because I feel like that. So
you never get to find out who your angel is, but I think whoever it is always speaks to people that know me, or they know me because I do get a lot of chocolate.
I was going to say, if I'd got you, I would have definitely been bringing you little snacks every now and again. I'd be like putting the snacks in the pigeonhole. What snacks did you used to have in your office back in the day? I can't remember.
It's all about the kiwi. It's all about the emergency kiwi.
Well, yeah, you were the one that introduced me to eating kiwi with the skin on, and I still do now.
There we go.
And you know what? The other day I was actually eating a kiwi, because I've got some in my fruit bowl right now, actually. And my mother-in-law was like, "You can't eat it with the skin." And I was like, "Yes, you can. In actual fact, it has more vitamin C than an orange."
Do you know what? We're saying that live on a podcast. That's what my mum told me, and I believed her. I should probably verify that that's true.
No,
it does. It does. Okay, good.
It has more vitamin C in the skin of a kiwi than a whole orange. So yeah.
Presumably, if you ate the skin of an orange, there might be.
No one's
going to do that, are they?
That would be very perfumed. I'm not sure if I'd want to eat the skin of an orange. Although I won't. Maybe I won't include this in the podcast. But I used to eat the, you know, like the white pith of the orange. I actually really like that. Taste of nothing.
Oh, no, I don't. So that's just reminded me. And again, maybe don't put this in the podcast. But the other day, a long time ago, let's not say, no, definitely don't include this, but just very quickly, a kid, I was teaching the class and I was looking, and one of them was like this. What is going on? And they were drinking their water, but they had some lemon in the water, and then they'd accidentally put the lemon in their mouth, and they didn't know what to do, so they just stayed like that. And then they were sort of trying to munch through it because they felt like they couldn't just take it out their mouth. And in the end, they just ate the lemon.
That was me as a kid. I would have eaten. I still now actually. I would eat a lemon. I would eat a whole lemon. Yeah, nice and easy. I really like sour things though, so that's like
but
really.
The skin as well. You'd eat the lemon skin.
That would be a push to eat the lemon skin.
But it's been done. It's been known that you've done that.
Slice of lemon. Yeah, I could eat the lemon skin.
Whole lemon. New things about you.
That would give me a stomachache, I think, if I ate a whole lemon. So Jenny, you were going to do get in the bin today, so I'm interested to know, what would you put in the bin?
So my get in the bin is any well-being that takes place before 8:30 in the morning.
I love that.
I just think if you're putting on something before 8:30, that is not good for my well-being.
Yeah. What, like a free breakfast or something like that?
Yeah, if it's something making me get in earlier than I normally do to get a free breakfast, I would rather pay the 37 pence that it costs me to have my own boiled egg at home.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Because actually it's almost like this forced well-being that we were talking about earlier. It's like, even when it's after school, so it's after school before your kind of like school hours or whatever you want to kind of call it. Because what time do you have to be in school?
Depends what day I'm working, but at the earliest, if there's a staff meeting, it would be 8:15. Yeah,
so let's say, you know, you're normally in by 8:15 or whatever. And actually, really, if they're offering you free breakfast, you're kind of going to have to go in earlier than that, aren't you, to sit down, eat your breakfast and whatever else. So for me, like, I already get to school. Well, I try to get to school for 7:45, but if you see my lipstick in the car, then it's usually so yeah, I would feel more like rushed in the morning to actually go and do that well-being.
Yeah, what if it's interfering with you getting your lipstick on? You're like, I've got to get to this free well-being breakfast and I don't have any lipstick on.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
And you know what, for me, and maybe I'm not thinking this through because I've never been in charge of a school's well-being, but for me, it's like whatever you were planning on doing at breakfast time, just do it at break time.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. I don't know, why do they have to do it at breakfast?
It's a perfect 20-minute slot.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be 1 or 2 members of staff on break time duty, but surely there's also 1 or 2 members of staff on, you know, late duty or various morning duties at the breakfast time slot. So do your well-being at 10:30.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. I mean, you get how long's your break time though? Your break time's a long break time, isn't it?
25 minutes.
Oh no, well, okay, mine's 30 minutes actually. They elongated the break time because they elongated the school day this year, slightly, only ever so slightly, but that was to do with the hours you were talking about earlier. It's like like a certain amount of hours in the year or whatever it is. I can't remember. I digress anyway.
So linked to that, so my get in the bin is well-being outside of the school hours.
Yeah.
Unless it's something really special, like we talked about, that's planned far in advance, that's, you know, a celebration of how well you did on a school inspection. So we're organising this amazing night out that is obviously completely optional. Fine, I'm not against that at all. But when I think they're trying to do something for all members of staff, I kind of think if you offer a wellbeing breakfast, you're kind of saying to everyone, oh, you should really be in at this time anyway. That's the message it seems to give to me.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to that whole idea about presenteeism. And it's like, well, if I don't have to be at a meeting till 8:15, why would I be in school at 7:45?
Yes. That is very true. Yeah, you're right. It's the optics, isn't it? It's what it makes it look like. You know, that all the other staff are getting in earlier than you, and then you end up feeling this almost like this guilt for not getting in, you know, earlier than you're contractually having.
And you know what? I don't think the schools that do this are necessarily thinking that. It's just how it feels to me as someone that doesn't get in, you know, 30 minutes before meetings because I've already done my work the day before, so I've got no reason to get in at 7:45. So for me, the kind of go for the win is if you are going to do a snack related treat, which I'm very much on board with.
Yeah, give me all the snacks. That's good.
Just do it in the working hours.
Yeah, no, I agree. And they can do it within the working hours, I feel. Like, I don't feel like they have to do it outside of those working hours.
And it's even things like, I don't know if schools that you've worked at do this, but, you know, they might do a special Christmas lunch and it's for staff and students. But I think that's part of well-being. It's for everyone's well-being. But I quite like, I'm like, oh, it's Christmas roast dinner today, or maybe we're celebrating a different religious festival, but we're having some quite exciting food that's a bit different. I think that's quite good for well-being.
So thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just trying to look ahead to what our next episode is on. So in March, we are looking ahead to job applications and how do happy teachers apply for a new role.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a mixture in March, but we're mainly, going to be thinking about how to apply for a role, a little bit about interviews. And
guest speakers.
We've got some guest speakers, yeah. So we're very excited about that. So yeah, listen in, tune in, and we hope to see you or speak to you again soon.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.